Welcome, dear viewers. Thank you for joining me on this extraordinary journey into one of the world's greatest epics, the Mahabharata. For centuries, this grand story has captivated hearts and minds across generations, weaving together adventure, wisdom, struggle, and triumph. It is not just an epic of ancient India, but a profound reflection on life, duty, justice, and the complexities of the human soul. Whether you are new to the Mahabharata or rediscovering its timeless stories, you'll find yourself transported to a world where gods and mortals walk together, where loyalty is tested, and where every choice shapes destiny. As we explore the saga of the Pandavas and Kauravas, the two families locked in a monumental conflict, you'll meet unforgettable heroes, cunning villains, and divine beings, each with their own strengths and flaws. Through these Thanos chapters, we will uncover lessons, unravel mysteries, and perhaps even see echoes of our own lives. Settle in, relax, and let the tale unfold. Welcome to the world of honor, courage, and epic adventure. Welcome to the Mahabharata. One evening, Scheherazade spun a tale of mystery and sorrow from the city of Baghdad. A poor man stumbled upon a crying boy in the market. But the boy revealed that his mother was dying of heartbreak because of a rare gift she desired: 3 shining apples. Touched, the man journeyed to the caliph's orchards far away, risking danger to bring back the prized fruit. When he returned triumphant, he found his wife had perished. Grief-stricken and confused, he wandered the streets, only to hear a jester bragging about tricking a woman out of a precious apple by claiming it was a gift from her unfaithful lover. Realizing the cruel misunderstanding, the man brought the matter before Caliph Harun al-Rashid. The caliph, wise and just, ordered his trusted vizier Ja'far to find the culprit within 3 days, or face execution himself. Ja'far searched endlessly, but the city yielded no answers. On the final night, by pure chance, he overheard his own slave telling the very tale to friends, boasting of the trick that led to a woman's death. Shocked and ashamed, Ja'far confessed everything to the caliph, who, moved by the tragedy and the twist of fate, chose mercy over punishment. In a bustling city of ancient China, a poor but lively boy named Aladdin roamed the streets. With a heart full of mischief and a mind always dreaming of more, he was the pride and worry of his widowed mother. One day, a mysterious stranger appeared, claiming to be Aladdin's long-lost uncle. In truth, he was a cunning sorcerer from North Africa, seeking a powerful magical lamp hidden in a cave. He led Aladdin beyond the city gates, into the mountains, and commanded him to retrieve the lamp. But once Aladdin entered the cave and found it, the sorcerer tried to trap him inside. Refusing to give up the lamp, Aladdin was sealed in darkness alone until he discovered the lamp's secret. With a simple rub, a thunderous cloud erupted, and a magnificent genie appeared, ready to grant his every wish. Aladdin escaped the cave, returned home, and with the genie's help, began a life unlike anything he had ever imagined. Thus began Aladdin's rise, from a street boy to a prince, from obscurity to legend, all with the help of a magical lamp and the courage of a boy who dared to wish. With the genie's help, Aladdin's life changed forever. He asked for riches, fine clothes, and the means to impress the Sultan. The genie provided it all: jewels, golden trays, and even servants who shimmered like stars. But Aladdin's heart was fixed on something more precious: the Sultan's daughter, Princess Badroulbadour. To win her hand, Aladdin used the genie to build a breathtaking palace. Floating gardens, sapphire towers, and walls of crystal that sparkled at dawn. The Sultan was astonished by the grandeur and allowed the marriage. Aladdin and the princess lived in joy until the dark sorcerer returned. Furious at being tricked, he devised a cruel plan. Disguised as a merchant, he tricked the princess into trading the old, worthless lamp for a shiny new one. The moment he held the lamp again, the sorcerer summoned the genie and commanded the enchanted palace to vanish, along with the princess. Aladdin awoke to find everything gone. His palace, his bride, and his happiness had vanished in a puff of magic. But he was no longer the helpless boy from the streets. With courage in his heart and only his wits to guide him, Aladdin vowed to bring back his beloved and defeat the sorcerer once and for all. Aladdin was devastated. His beloved princess and palace had disappeared without a trace. The townspeople murmured, the Sultan was enraged, and the once celebrated hero was now a fallen prince. But Aladdin did not despair for long. With nothing but his determination and a magical ring, once given to him by the sorcerer, he set off on a perilous journey. Rubbing the ring, another, lesser genie appeared, not as powerful as the one from the lamp, but willing to help. The ring's genie revealed the location of the vanished palace. It had been transported across the desert to a faraway land ruled by shadows and secrets. Aladdin traveled for days, through burning sands and treacherous mountains, until he saw the familiar gleam of his palace under the foreign sun. Inside, the princess was safe but sorrowful, imprisoned by the sorcerer's spells. Aladdin, disguised as a traveling healer, gained entrance. With wit and trickery, he offered the sorcerer a drink laced with sleeping powder. As the sorcerer fell into an enchanted slumber, Aladdin seized the lamp and reclaimed control of the mighty genie. With the genie's power restored to his hand, Aladdin freed the princess and flew the palace back to their homeland, returning as a true hero. Long before Aladdin's adventures in the grand capital of a Persian kingdom, there lived a mighty ruler, King Shahryar. He was once a just and noble man, but betrayal by his queen shattered his heart. Consumed by bitterness, the king declared he would marry a new woman each day and execute her the next morning, ensuring no bride would ever deceive him again. Fear gripped the city. Families wept as daughters were chosen, only to vanish the next sunrise. But amid this darkness, a courageous and brilliant woman emerged, Scheherazade, the daughter of the royal vizier. Known for her wisdom and storytelling, Scheherazade offered herself as the king's next bride, despite her father's pleading. That night, in the royal chamber, she began to tell a tale so enthralling, so intricate, that when dawn came, the king was too curious to hear the ending to have her executed. Intrigued, he postponed her death. Night after night, Scheherazade continued, spinning stories within stories, each filled with mystery, romance, and wisdom. Her stories stretched across 1,001 nights. With each tale, the king's heart softened, his soul healed, and so began the journey of the greatest storyteller in all the lands. One night, Scheherazade began a tale about a poor old fisherman who lived by the sea. Each day, he cast his net only 4 times, believing that greed brought misfortune. On one such day, the fisherman's first 3 catches were worthless: bones, broken pottery, and a sunken shoe. But on the 4th cast, he pulled up a heavy brass jar, sealed with a lead stopper, bearing the seal of Solomon. Curious, the fisherman opened it, and a thick black smoke poured out, swirling into the sky. The smoke formed into a massive genie, wild-eyed and furious. Imprisoned for centuries, the genie had vowed to kill whoever freed him, out of vengeance against humanity. Terrified but clever, the fisherman tricked the genie by pretending not to believe such a large being could have fit in the tiny jar. The genie, eager to prove himself, returned to mist and slipped back inside. In a flash, the fisherman sealed the jar once more. The genie, now trapped again, begged for mercy. The fisherman agreed to release him only if the genie promised to do good. The genie swore an oath, and thus began a surprising friendship between a humble fisherman and a once vengeful spirit of the deep. One evening, Scheherazade spun a tale of mystery and sorrow from the city of Baghdad. A poor man stumbled upon a crying boy in the market. The boy revealed that his mother was dying of heartbreak because of a rare gift she desired: 3 shining apples. Touched, the man journeyed to the caliph's orchards far away, risking danger to bring back the prized fruit. 2. When he returned triumphant, he found his wife had perished. Grief-stricken and confused, he wandered the streets, only to hear a jester bragging about tricking a woman out of a precious apple by claiming it was a gift from her unfaithful lover. Realizing the cruel misunderstanding, the man brought the matter before Caliph Harun al-Rashid. The Caliph, wise and just, ordered his trusted vizier Jafar to find the culprit within 3 days or face execution himself. Jafar searched endlessly, but the city yielded no answers. On the final night, by pure chance, he overheard his own slave telling the very tale to friends, boasting of the trick that led to a woman's death. Shocked and ashamed, Jafar confessed everything to the Caliph, who, moved by the tragedy and the twist of fate, chose mercy over punishment. Seshter. In the bustling city of Kashgar, there lived a beloved royal entertainer, a joyful little hunchback known for making the Sultan laugh. One night, a tailor and his wife invited the hunchback for dinner. As he joked and feasted, he choked on a fishbone and died instantly. Panicked, the tailor and his wife feared the Sultan's wrath and secretly placed the body in the house of a Jewish physician. Sickened, when the physician found the body, he too thought he had accidentally killed the man while examining him. Frightened, he moved the body again, this time to the home of a Muslim merchant. One after another, innocent people became entangled in a chain of guilt, each thinking they had caused the hunchback's death. Eventually, all were brought before the Sultan, and a public execution was arranged. But just as the executioner raised his sword, a twist of fate occurred. A clever barber appeared, claiming he knew the real story. He unraveled the tangled tale, revealing that no one was at fault. The hunchback had truly died from his own misadventure. The Sultan laughed heartily at the absurd chain of events, pardoned everyone, and rewarded the barber for his wit and wisdom. In the cool shade of an ancient fig tree, a weary merchant sat to rest during his long journey. He opened his pouch, broke some dates for lunch, and tossed the pits into the wind. Suddenly, the earth shook, and a monstrous figure appeared, a demon with flaming eyes and a blade of obsidian. "You have killed my son," the demon roared, for one of those pits struck his heart as he flew overhead. The merchant was speechless. It was an absurd accident, but the demon insisted he had broken a supernatural law. The demon gave the merchant a year to settle his affairs, promising to return and claim his life. Trusting to his word, the merchant came back 1 year later, ready to accept his fate. But before the demon could strike, 3 old men arrived, each accompanied by a strange beast. Curious, they listened to the merchant's tale and offered their own in exchange for mercy. Moved by the incredible stories of love, sacrifice, and transformation, the demon was astonished. In return for each tale, he forgave 1/3 of the merchant's life. And when the 3rd man finished, the demon laughed and vanished. Leaving the merchant free and forever changed, the first old man stepped forward, holding the leash of a gentle gazelle with eyes like sorrowful moons. "This creature," he began, "was once my wife, years ago, The man was a prosperous merchant with a beautiful wife. But when he was away on business, she betrayed him, consorting with a slave and using dark magic to conceal her deeds. Fast, worse still, she used sorcery to turn his son into a bull and sent him to labor on a distant farm. Upon returning, the man grew suspicious. He sought help from an old woman skilled in ancient spells. With her guidance, he discovered the truth. The sorceress undid the wife's enchantments, restoring the son to human form. In turn, the grateful son begged that his mother not be killed, but transformed instead. Aladdin, the second old man, stepped forth, leading 2 black dogs on silver chains. "These," he said quietly, "were once my brothers long ago." The man was a wealthy merchant with 2 envious siblings. When their father passed away, he divided the inheritance equally. The old man used his share wisely and became even wealthier, while his brothers squandered theirs on foolish pursuits. Years later, the man generously invited his brothers to join his merchant fleet. But greed clouded their hearts. When they saw his success, they plotted to kill him and take everything. One night, while at sea, they threw him overboard. By fate, he was rescued by a magical queen of the sea. She healed him, and after hearing his story, transformed his traitorous brothers into dogs to punish their betrayal. The man returned home with the enchanted hounds, now gentle and remorseful. For 10 years, he kept them by his side, hoping their souls would find peace. "Their punishment is sorrow enough," he finished. The demon, once more moved by the tale's pain and poetic justice, forgave another third of the merchant's life. The 2 dogs whimpered softly, leaning against the man who chose mercy over vengeance. "Khoo!" The third old man approached, smiling gently, leading a white mule with a golden bridle. "Oh, this creature," he began, "was once my beloved wife." He had been a wealthy magician, known for his craft across many lands. After years of solitude, he married a woman of great beauty. But as time passed, he discovered she had been practicing dark magic in secret, using her powers for cruel amusement. One day, he caught her transforming a neighbor's daughter into a bird out of jealousy. Furious, he reversed the spell and warned her never to use magic again. But vengeance stirred in her heart. While he was asleep, she cast a powerful enchantment on him, trapping his soul in silence. Luckily, his apprentice, a loyal and clever young man, saw everything and reversed the spell. With his strength returned, the magician used a greater spell to transform his treacherous wife into a white mule, cursed to remain so for the rest of her days. "I still care for her," he confessed, "but magic must be just." The demon, stunned by the tale of love, betrayal, and discipline, forgave the final third of the merchant's life. The merchant bowed, saved by the power of 3 unforgettable tales. In the heart of Baghdad, a cheerful porter made his living carrying goods through the winding streets. One day, a veiled woman hired him to carry a basket of delicate treats, wine, fruit, perfume, and rare spices. Intrigued, he followed her through the city until they reached a beautiful, hidden mansion. Inside, the porter met 2 more women, each more enchanting than the last. The 3 ladies invited him to stay and feast, and soon they were laughing, singing, and sharing wine. But mystery lingered in the air. The women had rules, certain doors he could not open, questions he could not ask. As the night deepened, 3 dervishes arrived, wandering mystics with strange, haunting eyes. Each was blind in one eye. They, too, were welcomed into the celebration. The evening grew wild with riddles and music, until a sudden knock silenced the room. A stern-looking man entered and demanded that everyone explain their presence and secrets. The joyful gathering turned tense. The man, it turned out, was the chief of the city guard, and the women's lives were not as simple as they seemed. Scheherazade paused the tale here, just as dawn arrived, leaving King Shahryar eager to know what happened next. When the chief demanded to know their identities, the first dervish stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "I was once a prince," he began, "the heir to a mighty kingdom by the sea." Eager for adventure, the prince sailed beyond his homeland, seeking knowledge and glory. One day, he came upon a mysterious island filled with glittering stones and silent shadows. While exploring, he saw something massive darken the sky. The roc, a colossal bird known only in legend. The prince hid beneath a rock, watching in awe as the bird landed to feed. Curious, he tied himself to one of its talons with his sash. When the roc took flight, he soared through the clouds, clinging tightly. But the journey led him not to paradise, but to the mountains of the Jinn, which waited at every cliff. There he encountered demons who threatened his life, accusing him of trespassing. Using his wits, the prince escaped, though he lost an eye in the process. Battered and wiser, he returned home, but shame kept him from reclaiming his royal place. "So I became a dervish," he concluded, seeking wisdom where titles no longer mattered. The room was silent, hearts stirred by the tale of a prince turned wanderer. The second dervish stepped forward, his single eye reflecting the flicker of torchlight. "I, too, was a prince," he said solemnly. "Yossi cost me everything. His kingdom was a land of scholars and secrets, where ancient texts spoke of a statue beneath the sea, one said to hold the power to command the winds and waves. Obsessed with uncovering it, the prince studied forbidden books and consulted mystics. Eventually, he hired divers and set sail to the coordinates whispered in legend. Diving deep, he reached the seabed where the statue stood, a colossal figure of bronze holding a sapphire orb. As he touched it, the ocean shuddered. A whirlpool erupted, pulling him into a hidden chamber guarded by sea spirits. They accused him of stealing sacred knowledge and offered two choices: lose his sight or lose his voice. Choosing to speak his truth forever, he sacrificed one eye. Cast back ashore, he wandered alone, rejected by his court for his madness and maiming. "I sought wisdom and found humility," he said, lowering his head. "So I chose the life of a dervish." The room remained hushed, the tale as deep as the sea that had taken his crown and given him meaning. The third dervish stepped forward, his robes worn and patched. He bowed and said, "I too was born a prince, of a distant kingdom nestled among the clouds and peaks. As a young man, he was sent to study under a wise sorcerer, said to hold the secrets of time and stars. The prince was clever and learned quickly, but he grew too curious. One night, he entered the forbidden chamber of his master and found a mirror that showed distant lands and people's fates. As he gazed into it, he saw his own kingdom burning and himself betrayed by those he trusted most. Distraught, he confronted the sorcerer, who revealed the mirror had shown not the future, but what might come if his heart strayed from humility. Still, the prince refused to listen. In punishment, the sorcerer cast a spell, transforming him into a one-eyed dervish, destined to wander without name or crown until he accepted his fate. "I have walked this world," the man finished, "not to find vengeance, but understanding." The guests bowed their heads, even the stern chief. Scheherazade paused again, her voice soft and steady, as the sun rose on yet another night of survival. As the third dervish finished his tale, the chief of the guard lowered his scroll. His stern gaze moved across the room, first to the dervishes, then to the porter, and finally to the three mysterious ladies. "You've all shared strange and sorrowful stories," he said. But it is the women I now question. Why such secrecy? Why these riddles and hidden doors? The eldest sister rose calmly, her voice clear and regal. We swore never to reveal our story unless threatened with death, she said. But if truth must be the price of peace, so be it. She revealed they were the daughters of a powerful vizier who had once served the caliph himself. Betrayed by jealous rivals, their family had been ruined, their brothers exiled, their mother lost. The sisters fled the palace life and took refuge in this hidden mansion. To survive, she continued, we vowed to trust no man, keep our true identities hidden, and rely on no one. The chief, moved by their grace and courage, granted them pardon. The porter, overjoyed, thanked them for the most unforgettable night of his life. The dervishes bowed in respect, and the party, though strange, ended not in punishment, but peace. In a distant Persian court, a curious inventor from India presented a marvelous creation to the king, a magnificent ebony horse that, he claimed, could fly. The king scoffed, until the inventor demonstrated. He mounted the horse, turned a secret peg, and soared into the sky like a falcon. The king was astounded, but his son, Prince Kumar al-Akmar, was entranced. He begged for a chance to ride it. The inventor agreed, but secretly twisted the wrong peg. The horse launched the prince high into the heavens, then vanished into the clouds, leaving the court in panic. Hours passed before the prince figured out the controls and descended into a foreign kingdom, where he landed on a palace rooftop. There he glimpsed the sleeping daughter of the local king, Princess Shams al-Nahar, and fell in love instantly. As dawn approached, he flew away but vowed to return. Meanwhile, the inventor was imprisoned for treachery, and the king vowed to rescue his son. So began the prince's daring adventures, flying between cities, fleeing guards, and outwitting rivals, all to win the hand of the princess and return home in glory. A tale of invention, romance, and boldness, carried on wings not of feathers, but of carved ebony and clever gears. Prince Kumar al-Akmar returned many times on the ebony horse, each night watching Princess Shams al-Nahar from afar. At last, he gained entry to the palace disguised as a merchant. When he revealed himself to she recognized his kindness and bravery from dreams she had after his first visit. Reckoned, they fell in love under moonlit skies and began planning their future. But trouble loomed. A neighboring sultan sent a powerful suitor to demand Shams al-Nahar's hand in marriage. The princess, terrified, delayed the proposal. Meanwhile, the prince returned home and begged his father for help. The king, realizing the power of the ebony horse and the love in his son's heart, agreed to assist. Disguised as a foreign ambassador, the prince returned again to the princess's land. Just as the false suitor arrived, using wit and the magic horse, the prince tricked the suitor into taking a ride and flew him to a distant desert, leaving him stranded and fuming. The grateful king blessed the union of Kumar and Shams. The lovers soared back home together on the ebony horse, where their marriage was celebrated with joy. Scheherazade's tale closed with the sound of soaring wings and laughter in the sky. Scheherazade now turned her tale to a legendary traveler, Sinbad the Sailor. Once a young man of Baghdad, Sinbad was born into wealth but squandered his inheritance on youthful pleasures. Seeking to rebuild his fortune, he took to the sea with a merchant crew, Anno successor, Tewar, setting sail on his first great voyage. The journey was peaceful until they reached an island that seemed like paradise. Lush trees, freshwater springs, and no sign of danger. The crew feasted and played, but Sinbad sensed something strange. Suddenly, the earth trembled. The island was no island at all. It was the back of a giant sea creature sleeping beneath the ocean. Awakened by fire and noise, the creature plunged into the sea. Sinbad was thrown overboard and clung to a barrel, drifting for hours until he washed ashore on a distant coast. There, he was taken in by a kind king and shared tales of his voyage. He earned the king's favor, gained riches, and returned to Baghdad a changed man. "I learned that the sea offers treasure," he said, "but always at a price." So began the first of Sinbad's 7 incredible voyages, each a journey into danger, wonder, and wisdom. After returning to Baghdad, Sinbad vowed to stay ashore, but the call of the sea whispered louder than comfort. Restless and curious, he soon set sail again, this time on a ship bound for new lands and new fortunes. The voyage was smooth until a storm scattered their course. The crew found themselves shipwrecked on an island with towering trees and mist-covered cliffs. Exploring the interior, they stumbled upon strange fruit and animal bones. But as night fell, terror took root. Something monstrous stalked the island. It was a giant, taller than palm trees, with one burning eye and a hunger for man-flesh. The ogre captured Sinbad and his crew, placing them in a bamboo cage. Each night, he devoured one man. But Sinbad, as always, devised a plan. He sharpened a tree branch and, under cover of darkness, blinded the beast's eye while it slept. With chaos erupting, the remaining sailors escaped by clinging to logs and letting the current carry them away. Weary but alive, Sinbad once again found safety in a foreign court. Rewarded for his bravery, he returned home richer, wiser, and haunted by the memory of the monstrous island. "And still," he said, "I sailed again." Though shaken by his past voyages, Sinbad's thirst for adventure had not yet been quenched. On his third journey, he joined a new crew and sailed east, chasing tales of islands filled with diamonds and creatures that whispered prophecies. One day they landed on a green, tranquil island. The crew celebrated until the earth quaked beneath them. In horror, they realized the island was home to the legendary roc, whose egg rested on a rocky mound nearby. The sailors foolishly cracked the egg for treasure, provoking the wrath of the parent roc. The sky darkened with the flapping of its mighty wings. The roc returned, shrieking in rage, and dropped giant stones from the sky. Ships splintered, sailors scattered, and Sinbad barely survived by hiding in a cave. In time, he discovered a valley of diamonds nearby, guarded by deadly snakes. Merchants used an ancient trick, throwing meat into the valley, allowing diamonds to stick and then retrieving them by eagle. Sinbad tied himself to a sheep carcass, was lifted out of the valley, and emerged once again with treasures in hand, and a story no one could believe. He returned home with riches, but the sea's call still echoed in his soul. Once more the sea called to Sinbad, and he could not refuse. On his fourth voyage, he sailed farther than ever before, venturing into waters unmarked on any map. His ship landed on a seemingly peaceful island with ivory-colored sands and golden trees. But all was not as it seemed. The island belonged to the kingdom of the cannibal giants, beings who looked like men but had monstrous appetites and gleaming eyes. The crew was captured and thrown into a pit. One by one, the giants feasted on the unlucky sailors. Sinbad, refusing to succumb to fear, devised a daring plan. He and the survivors pretended to be sick, rubbing bitter herbs and dirt on their skin. The giants, disgusted by their diseased appearance, cast them out. Fleeing into the jungle, Sinbad stumbled upon a river of pure crystal. Following it, he discovered an abandoned boat. With strength and courage, he sailed downstream, finally reaching a distant city of enlightenment, where people prized stories over silver and wisdom above gold. He was welcomed like a sage and gifted treasures before sailing home once more. But Sinbad's eyes had changed. Each voyage scarred him, yet deepened his thirst for the unknown. Despite the perils of his past, Sinbad once again set sail, driven by curiosity and destiny. On his fifth voyage, he joined a merchant fleet bound for uncharted isles. The voyage was uneventful until they arrived at a strange land where the inhabitants worshipped fire and feared the sea. Curious, Sinbad explored inland, only to be captured by these people, who believed he was a sea demon. They forced him to drink a strange potion that dulled his senses and fed him rich foods. One by one, his fellow merchants grew fat and complacent, eventually devoured by the natives in a grim ritual. But Sinbad, wise from past trials, resisted the drug. When the others were asleep, he escaped into the forest and followed the stars until he reached the coast. There, he found a passing ship crewed by traders from Serendib. They rescued him and marveled at his tale. In Serendib, Sinbad was welcomed by a just and noble king who gifted him rare gems and sent him home on a royal ship. Back in Baghdad, Sinbad reflected, "Each voyage teaches me survival, but also that greed often blinds those who chase riches at any cost." Light. Still, he yearned to see what lay beyond the next wave. Though each voyage nearly cost him his life, Sinbad once again could not resist the pull of adventure. On his sixth journey, he boarded a merchant ship bound for distant ports beyond Serendib. Their voyage was prosperous until a violent storm tore their ship apart on the rocky coast of a barren island. Sinbad survived, washed ashore alone. The island was silent, barren, but not lifeless. In the cliffs, he found a cavern that echoed with wind and bones. It was the burial cave of a once great king, where the local people sealed dead royals in with treasures and their living wives. Soon, Sinbad realized he was not alone. A mourning woman had recently been sealed within. She, too, was starving, and before she passed, she gave Sinbad her remaining food and a golden bracelet. Sinbad devised a daring plan. Using the treasures left in the burial chambers, he stacked the jewels and bones high until he reached a crack in the ceiling. Heath-hour, which light streamed. He climbed to freedom and was discovered by passing pearl divers. He returned to Baghdad, his soul wearied, but his pouch filled with the treasures of the dead. Still, the sea whispered, and Sinbad listened. Sinbad, older and wiser, had survived 6 harrowing voyages, but the sea still beckoned. On his 7th and final journey, he accepted a royal commission to deliver gifts from the Caliph of Baghdad to the king of Serendib. The journey was smooth until pirates struck. Sinbad was captured and sold as a slave to a rich ivory merchant. In a distant land where elephants roamed the forests like silent kings, ordered to gather tusks, Sinbad ventured daily into the wild, learning the paths and habits of the great beasts. One day, he witnessed something astonishing: elephants mourning their dead, carrying fallen kin to a secret burial ground deep in the jungle. Sinbad returned with the knowledge and led his master there. Stunned by the vast ivory wealth, the master freed Sinbad in gratitude and shared the treasure. Sinbad returned home richer than ever, but his soul was transformed. He had seen not only treasure, but the wisdom and sorrow of animals, their dignity, their grief. From that day on, he swore to travel no more. The sea had taught him enough. He lived out his days in comfort and reflection, recounting his tales not for glory, but for understanding. Thus ended the voyages of Sinbad the Sailor. In a grand kingdom of the East, a wise sultan had 3 sons. As he aged, he dreamed of leaving his legacy not in war or gold, but in wonder. One day, a traveling sage told him of three magical treasures: a bird that spoke with the wisdom of ages, a tree whose leaves sang in harmony, and a fountain of golden water, said to cure all illness. Eager to prove themselves, the three princes set off, each in a different direction. The eldest ventured to a distant land of scholars, but found only riddles and misdirection. The second entered a forest of illusions and nearly lost his mind. But the youngest, Prince Hassan, traveled with humility and kindness. He aided an old hermit who gifted him a map hidden in plain sight, a tapestry stitched with symbols of the stars. Guided by it, Hassan crossed treacherous mountains, fought enchanted beasts, and at last found the Garden of Marvels. There, the bird greeted him with riddles. The tree sang of the past and future, and the golden water flowed from a spring in the lion's mouth. Prince Hassan brought the wonders home, not to rule, but to heal and inspire. The kingdom rejoiced, and the Sultan wept with joy, separated by mountains and ocean. Two royal heirs, Prince Kamar al-Zaman of Persia and Princess Badura of China, lived under the stars, fated never to meet. Kamar was a noble youth, devoted to wisdom, while Badura was bold, clever, and unlike any princess her court had seen. One night, the Sultan of the genies, amused by their equal intellect and beauty, devised a strange enchantment. While both lay sleeping in their distant palaces, he caused their souls to switch places. Kamar awoke in Badura's body. Badura awoke in his. Confused and alarmed, they navigated their new lives, puzzled by unfamiliar surroundings. But over time, they began to admire each other through the people around them. In dreams, they saw glimpses of each other, like two stars circling in the sky. At last, when the genie saw they had grown in patience and understanding, he restored them to their bodies. In a storm of magic, they awoke face to face. Love bloomed instantly. They married not by arrangement, but by choice, uniting their kingdoms and hearts. Their tale was not of war or conquest, but of love discovered through empathy and magic's quiet mischief. In the golden age of the caliphate, a group of scholars, mystics, and soldiers set out on a legendary expedition to find the fabled city of Brass, a cursed city buried in the heart of the desert, said to hold secrets of the jinn and the knowledge of ancient kings. Led by the noble Emir Musa, the caravan crossed barren sands, past crumbling towers, and read inscriptions in forgotten tongues. Along the way, they found petrified cities and skeletons of giants, each whispering warnings from beyond time. At last, they reached it, the city of Brass. Its gates were shut with seals of copper and ancient spells. The walls gleamed under the sun, but no voice echoed within. Inside, they found statues of kings frozen mid-sentence, and tablets etched by jinn, warning of pride and rebellion. One room held a queen, a mummy in a crystal coffin, still beautiful, clutching a scroll that read, "I ruled empires, yet time has swallowed me." The explorers left in silence, shaken by the power of hubris and the weight of forgotten glory. Emir Musa returned to Baghdad, not with gold, but with wisdom that even the greatest cities fade if built only for pride, not people. In a quiet corner of Damascus, there lived a humble water seller named Abul Hassan. He was cheerful but poor, known for his good heart and sense of humor. Each day he'd sigh to himself, "If only I were caliph for just one day." One evening, as he dozed off in his small home, two mysterious men entered silently. Dressed in black and bearing a secret command, the Caliph Harun al-Rashid wished to play a trick. They carried Abul Hassan to the palace, dressed him in royal robes, and placed him on the throne. When he awoke, attendants bowed and called him commander of the faithful. Believing he had lost his mind, Abul Hassan played along, demanding falcon eggs, reciting poetry, and offering pardons to imaginary criminals. The court burst with laughter, but they never broke character. At the end of the day, he was gently returned to his home, convinced it had all been a dream. But the next night, it happened again and again. The caliph had found joy in Abul Hassan's innocent humor, and the trick continued, blurring the line between sleep and reality. Abul Hassan, ever cheerful, became known as the sleeper awakened, loved by the people, and secretly honored by the king. After 1001 nights of storytelling, the dawn of the final night approached. Scheherazade, now no longer a frightened bride but a queen beloved by her people, sat before King Shahryar with her hands folded gently in her lap. Her stories had changed the heart of a man once ruled by anger and vengeance. Night after night, she had woven tales of love, betrayal, wit, and wisdom, not to delay death, but to awaken the light in his soul. On this final night, she told no story. Instead, she spoke plainly of life, of sorrow, of redemption. She reminded the king of his own laughter, of the lessons he had learned, and of the child she now carried, their child. King Shahryar, deeply moved, looked upon her not as a storyteller or a wife taken in fear, but as the woman who saved him. He stood, took her hand, and declared to the court and kingdom, "Let no more blood be shed. Let stories reign where swords once ruled." And so the tales of Scheherazade came to an end, not with a death, but with a beginning. Her voice lived on, in the hearts of all who would listen. Dear traveler of tales, thank you for journeying with us through the winding deserts, magical islands, and starlit palaces of the Arabian Nights. From the daring voyages of Sinbad to the clever wit of Scheherazade, from enchanted genies to speaking birds, every chapter we shared was a window into wonder, a glimpse of a world where stories are not just entertainment, but a bridge between hearts. These tales, passed from voice to voice over centuries, carry more than fantasy. They carry wisdom, humor, courage, and above all, humanity. We hope that in each story, you found not only magic, but moments that made you smile, reflect, or dream a little deeper. May you carry these stories with you as lanterns for your imagination, and may they remind you that no matter how dark the night, a story has the power to light the way. We invite you to revisit your favorite chapters, share them with loved ones, and let your own tales begin. This may be the last page of this series. But in the world of stories, there is no final ending, only new beginnings. Until our next adventure, may your dreams be as rich as the tales of Scheherazade.